The nation's energy self-harm was under the spotlight in the National Press Club debate today, moderated by our own Tom Connell. And it was pretty extraordinary for the way the Climate and Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, simply refused to confront reality, refused to share figures or modelling or costings, and just pretended that his horrendously expensive and failing plan of renewables plus storage, well, he just pretended it's all going swimmingly. The Shadow Minister, Ted O'Brien, tried to extract an apology.
The Treasurer last night could not even bring himself to say a simple word. Sorry. Sorry we got it wrong. Sorry we promised you all through even the term of government a $275 reduction in household bills, but actually you're paying well over $1,000. And I hope Chris takes the opportunity today just to look down the barrel of the camera and say, Australians, we got it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry does always seem to be the hardest word, doesn't it? But Sky News contributor Chris Uhlmann tackled Bowen on electricity prices too, and in particular Bowen's attempts to use Labor's $6 billion worth of power rebates to pretend that prices have gone down.
Ask a very, very simple question. Have electricity prices risen on your watch the exact opposite of what you pledged? Have they?
We have never denied that energy prices are higher than we would like. That's why we've delivered 3 rounds of energy bill relief.
In the Treasurer's speech you wrote, electricity prices have fallen. That's not true, is it?
Well, the fact of the matter is, if you look at the recent data, Australia's had the lowest energy inflation in the world.
Dear, oh dear. They promised a cut of $275 a year, but we've seen prices rise by $1,300 a year instead, yet they cannot bring themselves to say it. It is pathetic and infuriating. But what's most important is the future, of course. And Bowen is promising to keep going with his renewables build-out. Hundreds of billions of dollars will be spent on wind farms and solar factories and offshore wind and pumped hydro and transmission lines all around the country. And somehow Bowen argues that while all this has driven prices skywards, doing more of the same will one day drive prices lower. This is literally the definition of insanity. And what's worse is that Labor won't say what all this will cost.
Here is a small example of the reports that the government bases our expert plan on, whether it is by the AEMO, the Australian Energy Regulator, the Australian Energy Market Corporation, full analysis of the pathway that the government has set out, because we base our plan on the experts. The work of the Australian Energy Market Operator, the work of the CSIRO, the Australian Energy Market Corporation. As I said, the difference between Ted and I is neither of us are the people in Australia who know the most about the energy market. There are others. I listen to them. Ted ignores them.
Yeah, he'll have sore biceps after that, won't he? But sure, Labor is armed with a bunch of reports, but they're prepared by government agencies that are charged only with working out how to deliver the government's chosen policies. They don't examine all the ranges of options available. And nuclear, for instance, is out of the question because it's currently illegal in this country. The debate is inane, and Bowen simply will not give a straight answer.
Minister, are you going to give the Australian people an answer? I'm telling you, our plan is going to cost $331 billion.
Well, no, it's not.
Generation, storage and transmission. How much is yours going to cost?
Well, he just won't say in direct terms. So this is a watershed election for energy. It's our best chance to get a short-term focus from the coalition on more gas generation to relieve prices and to boost supply immediately. But more importantly, it's an historic opportunity to get started on nuclear, which is the only reliable and affordable option if we want emissions-free electricity. The coalition needs to explain to people that nuclear is not just an option. It's actually the only option if we want to get rid of emissions and keep the lights on. Because Labor's renewables plus storage experiment is doomed to fail. That's why not a single other country is even trying to do it. And remembering that all this energy self-harm, of course, is driven by the way governments have enslaved themselves to the United Nations net zero by 2050 agenda, there was welcome reluctance from Ted O'Brien today to tie the coalition too strongly to those goals.
You're prepared, all of those things considered, that if it is in the national interest to potentially leave Paris?
I can commit that we will always act in the national interest and we'll be upfront with the Australian people.
Yeah, how about that, hey? Our energy needs and our economic needs ahead of UN virtue signalling. Heresy to the Green left, of course, but common sense to mainstream Australians.